Hello everybody, Pinstripe here. What is going on? Welcome back to some more IL-2. Tonight we're here over the frozen wasteland of the Gulf of Finland, just taking off from the airfield. You'll notice obviously everything is frozen over, very snowy as we're here tonight in the Hawker Tempest, which was a direct upgrade to that of the Typhoon, using it via the Red Air Force, and Soviet pilots I'm sure will be very happy with those four 20mm cannons. We're actually going to have two rounds here because this first one we are coming up against a squadron of PE2s. To the northwest of us is Helsinki, but these guys are heading northeast towards Leningrad, which of course is today that of St. Petersburg. So we must be defending our homeland and taking these guys down in the process. So this first round is kind of a warm-up, just getting used to the plane. I've got my wingman with me as well. And then in the second round is where we'll face up against another squadron of bombers, in that of the Ju-88s, and they will have F-2A escorts as well. So we have plenty to focus on, but for this first round, of course, we just need to play catch-up, gain some altitude, and then come down onto these dive bombers. Now they do of course have the rear gunners, but as we've seen in previous videos, they tend to go down quite easily, and like I say, with these four 20mm, we should be making easy work of these planes. Now that isn't to say that these bombers shouldn't be taken seriously, of course, because they still hold several rear-facing machine guns. I think they are 7.62mm ones, so we don't want to be getting in too close, but we're going to be taking on the first guy that is, I guess, on the very end here. But we do take a few hits, so we're not exactly healthy, and that's what I was saying about not underestimating these bombers, because we may be able to cut them apart, but they can still fire back and damage our engine. So you'll see here from the closer replay, we get a few hits on him, and then he starts to lean across to the side. So I think we took a few hits onto his wing, but eventually he just plummets into the ground, and we don't have to deal with him anymore. So no point chasing him, can leave him be, and then crack on with the other three. The Tempest's overall design is indeed very striking, but I do have to say that this is kind of giving me flashbacks to when I was using that BF-109 against the PE2s and just cutting them apart. I mean, it's very easy to do, especially from this distance. You can see that we're not super close. I am being somewhat tentative given the fact that we have already been damaged, and lo and behold, our wingman is nowhere to be seen, because once more, even though I was giving him orders, he ended up just returning to base and leaving me be for some unknown reason. His plane wasn't damaged, but I don't know. He does kind of help out in the second round when we come to that, but for now it is just me flying out here alone. But we will catch up to him when we head back to base after taking these guys down, because again, you'll notice at the front that my view is slightly obscured by the fact that there is smoke coming from my engine, hence, again, the distance kept between myself and these bombers. There are, of course, bullets coming at me, so the last thing I want is taking more damage here and failing the mission. So, yeah, it's just a case of keeping the gun sights steady, keeping them on target, and I don't know what it is about the cannons on this this plane. They just they just felt right, you know? It was like as soon as I started shooting, my accuracy is just there, you know? When I'm using like a Mustang, the accuracy just isn't there. Sometimes it's the shape of the gun sight itself, sometimes it's kind of how the bullet drop-off works, you know, because you can kind of fire the machine guns, you can see if they go in a straight line, if they converge, and I guess it just comes down to player preference as well. But we cut down that second to last guy, and now it is just the flight lead left, and he is blown into absolute pieces. So that is a victory. We do a good old victory spin and head back to base, but not before, of course, taking a look at the replay, because the crashes that you get in IL-2 1946 specifically are definitely unique, but the consistency with cutting off a wing or cutting off a tail, you'll see fairly similar animations, but I like to think that the variations are good enough for the year of 2024/2025, whenever this video actually comes out. I think it might be 2025 right now. Let me know in the comments what year it is, because I have just an absolute ton of IL-2 videos, Hogs videos, and just everything else that's gone up on the channel fairly recently. But yeah, actually having a video schedule has really helped too. It's been quite something, but not as insane as the guns on this plane. So 4 kills, Wingman, nowhere to be seen, but we are going to be landing in the snow. This is technically my first landing in the snow, which was a bit iffy, but bringing down the landing gear, you can see we've got all green lights in the bottom left there, which is our indicator that the landing gear is down. So we just need to bring ourselves in, lower our speed, and ensure that we do land on the runway. But when you look at the ground and it's just pure white, it is quite difficult to keep an eye on it. So when we do land, we do go a little bit squiffy, but we eventually put ourselves on course. So this is a better angle. You can kind of see the runway better, but we go a little bit too far left. It gets a little bit bouncy, but we maneuver ourselves back on target. So, coming back out here for round 2, welcome back to the Gulf of Finland. You can see everything is melted, so this is what it looks like, not during winter, I suppose, but below us we do have the altitude advantage, and we are coming up against, this time, 2 escorts of F2A Brewster Buffaloes. These were indeed used by the FAF, the Finnish Air Force, during World War II. In fact, they were much preferred by Finnish fighter pilots, and they will be proving a little bit of a challenge in this video. They are, of course, the predecessor to the F4F Wildcat, but I find that the Buffaloes actually feel a little bit more like the FW190s, just in terms of maneuverability. But you'll notice that on that first flyby I did not chase, because the Tempest is not as maneuverable as the F2A, and they can quite easily get behind you. But our primary target, technically, are the bombers over here in that of the Ju-88s, like I mentioned. The Junker 88s, we're going to be getting a few hits on this first guy, and then turning our attention back to the escorts, because I don't want to be leaving my wingman. I don't want to be doing what he did to me, just leaving him completely alone. But again, you know, just keeping in mind the energy levels, and keeping in mind as well that I have kept the in-flight messages on screen, so you can once again see the altitude that I'm at, the speed that I'm traveling, and my engine management and everything else that I'm doing in between. I kind of want to be, you know, picking a target, sticking with one of these fighters, and basically ordering my wingman to engage these bandits and try and get on the attack as well, because these guys are very similar to the Wildcats in that they do enjoy a good climb and then dive, and to then go into a spiral and try and get behind you very, very easily. So I'm trying to just stay on course. You can see the guy on the left there is trying to entice me. The fact that he is closer, he is diving, but I'm going to stay on his wingman and just ensure that I remain behind him and maintain energy, because I know that he's going to go into a climb, and I need to keep that to ensure that when I get to the peak of that climb, I then don't stall out, but he's going to cut that off immediately, go back down again. So there's going to be a lot of up and down initially, quite a bit of chasing, but I am on his tail, so we do have the advantage. And of course, making sure that my 6 is clear, because we've been in this situation far too many times where you reach that peak and then you get shot from behind and it's kind of game over. So we almost push ourselves maybe a little bit too far. I get a few shots off before kind of stabilizing myself out and keeping an eye on him, because he's looking to swing behind me. So as I come down here, I need to swing into the left to keep my eyes on him and ensure that as he goes by, we keep our energy. We don't engage, because if I were to turn there, all my energy would be lost, and we continue pushing forward. So again, just to observe from a different camera angle, different replay, you'll see just how steep the climb is, how much energy you can lose, and generally how the chase was as well. Because this was the first initial climb, the second one. As you can see, I almost got a few shots off on him, but his wingman is behind me too. So that was something I wasn't aware of, because you get such tunnel vision. It's insane how easily you can lose track of the battle and what is actually going on. You can see we get into a slight spiral, and then I break off and continue. He turns round, so he's lost his energy there, which I notice as I turn around here. So this is going to be the primary moment for me to strike. I notice, of course, that his wingman is further ahead. My wingman is dealing with him, or at least roughly on his tail. So seeing that he is at low altitude, I just need to remain behind him, use this speed to my advantage, and go in for the kill. Now my shots are still undershooting, they are going underneath him, but as I get closer, I get on target, get a few hits in, he starts smoking, and then we cut his wing to pieces. Just a beautiful little splash there as well. You're hearing that plane going down. It was quite the thud, but from the replay again, just the hits were on target, plane goes down, and we get our first kill, and that is the first escort taken care of. And it won't be long until my wingman does his duty finally for the motherland and takes out the other escort. He makes it look very, very easy. He does the same thing, slices that wing apart, the F2A comes down, and both escorts are now taken care of. And that's where I was breathing a huge sigh of relief, because I had done this mission a few times, just kind of training that idea of taking out escorts before then approaching the bombers, or, you know, doing that thing where you maintain your energy, you try and strike the escorts and then go for the bombers, take out one, and then circle back around like I did. But now, as you'll notice on the timer, the Ju-88s have had this time that we've been fighting to fly away quite consistently. They've had just so much time to get away. Now take a note of the timer in the bottom right and how long it has taken us to catch up with these guys. It's been like a solid 10 minutes of flying, so we finally get back to the bombers, and I tell my wingman to engage once more, because it should be easy cleanup here. The Ju-88s are armed fairly well. They have about, I think it's 5 machine guns, most of them being 7.92 millimeters, placed in different areas of the craft itself. And this bomber was actually used for so many purposes by primarily the Luftwaffe, of course, but the Finnish Air Force were using them too, and they were used in multiple different roles as heavy fighter aircraft, as reconnaissance, as dive bombers, torpedo bombers, nighttime bombers, just everything under the sun pretty much that you could use this vehicle for. But as with the PE-2s, the Ju-88s are not to be underestimated and not to be taken lightly, because, again, when you've got 5 different machine guns pointing at you, you need to take it easy and not engage when you really don't need to. So my wingman is doing his best to try and get some hits in, but I'm just going to be keeping an eye on the situation and eventually coming in, but he's going to be getting his first kill, but in doing so, he himself is going to eat quite the bit of flak. So there's going to be many a shot coming his way. He's going to be taking some damage and indeed leaking some fuel, but he does get a kill in the process before he then shuffles off, and I take on the final lead flight. Thankfully not hitting him as he flies by there either, just a slight worry that might have happened. But again, it is no worries as we get the final kill as that guy goes down, and the victory is ours once more. So the Gulf of Finland is secure. The the area of Leningrad is safe for now, but sadly for our wingman, those bullets that he ate, even though his plane isn't on fire, he says that he is on fire and he bails. So for the 6 kills that we acquired with both the escorts and the 4 bombers, we lose 1 Tempest in the process, and he's just going to be casually floating down. I'm sure someone will come pick him up, but he could have maybe limped the plane a little bit further before bailing out. Maybe it was close to exploding. Who knows? But I don't need to think about him now, because I just need to make it home in one piece. So we'll get to the landing in just a second, but before then let's take a look at the replay of all the damage dealt to the 88s. Just another look at the replays of the different angles, because it's always fun to see the bombers go down. We see it in every video, but this was the first one I got when I was doing my flyby, before I then turned around and went and dealt with the Buffaloes, getting very close to that right side wing as well. Strangely enough, none of the crew decide to bail out. They are smoking and they are coming down, but they all stay in there. I don't know if he was hoping to ditch in the water, but he is very much undershooting, and they crash into this little island here, into the trees. Good effort there, I suppose. I don't know. So at this point, all of the escorts are taken care of as far as the fighters are concerned. So these 3 are easy pickings, with this guy just absolutely engulfed in flames, his right side wing coming off, flying into the drink, and then we are left with the final 2 bombers, which, as I mentioned, taken out by our wingman here. Just seeing it from the lead flight's perspective, he takes damage and eventually flames out, but this guy goes down, and then the lead is also taken out as well. So we are going to be reducing our altitude as you normally would in any kind of landing procedure. We're not going to head all the way back home because I am wary of fuel because of the amount of time spent trying to catch up to these bombers. But there is a friendly airfield nearby, placed near enough in the center of the Gulf of Finland, so we don't have to fly for too long to make it back safely. But again, feeling for my wingman, leaving him here just to sit in his raft and wait for a pickup, I guess. Kinda sad, I don't know. But that is pretty much going to wrap it up for this video. I hope you guys have enjoyed. There will of course be plenty more IL-2 content to come, and indeed that from other air forces that we haven't seen yet. Like, I would very much enjoy maybe doing a career mode with like the Netherlands, the Dutch Air Force. Just ones that are kind of more obscure that you don't normally think about, whether it be Allied or Axis. But coming in here to land once more, we have all the green lights for our landing gear coming down. Thankfully not in the snow this time, so I can actually see where the runway's at. And we touch down with what is perhaps my softest landing in a fighter aircraft. There's a slight bounce, but the Tempest is very similar, I guess, to the likes of the Spitfire when it comes to weight. So just getting a nice soft landing is always nice. But let me know your thoughts on everything in the comments below, and I will catch you guys later for the next one. Peace out, everybody.